Hey, and welcome back to the Rick and Dafs podcast. I'm Rick.
And I'm Dafs.
And we are here unscripted and raw.
That's right, Rick.
Yeah, Dafs, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I got the house to myself tonight.
You're all alone.
Yep, Stacy's already on Christmas vacation, and I am holding down the fort.
But unlike the movie Christmas Vacation, you haven't burned down the house or gotten attacked by police or SWAT team yet.
The night is still young.
It's true. It's only 8. It's 8 o'clock on the 26th of December. And my progeny is asleep, so I'm feeling pretty good.
That's pretty great.
So we're going to do our December episode, and we're just going to keep it short and sweet, Dafs. We're going to do a news story, and we are going to do remember back in the day when we just did a couple questions that weren't quite episode worthy, but were still nonetheless quite interesting.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we'll do some of those.
That was classic Rick and Dafs format.
Yeah, and then, it's starting next year, we're going to be more regular because we're going to have taken our equivalent of podcasting Miralax. It's a good nursing joke there. We since we're now Skyping, we have just so much more ability to get together over the internets.
So much.
Yeah. So we'll be able to start podcasting on the regular more often. And I think what we're going to do is open up with an episode about a superhero dating game.
Yes, that's going to be a good one.
And I can't wait for season 6?
Something like that.
Oh my goodness. That's just crazy.
We're going to be like Law and Order. It's going to be like the 37th season.
When we're like in our 60s and we're just like, which ache and pain would you rather have? Elbow or knee? Ooh, that's a good question. Well, Dafs, what'll it be? Kane or Walker? So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's see here. So the first question actually was your question. And it's kind of a ridiculous question, but didn't you ask me once recently how the world would be different if we used fruit as money?
Yeah, so I feel like this might have been already in our podcast last week, was it not?
No, it was not.
Oh man, I'm imagining things.
That podcast was so bad it never aired. What with all your drunken diatribe?
Yes,
about Christmas.
But yeah, I mean, so the idea of food as money. I mean, essentially, that's what food used to be. It used to be money. Salt is still used in some cultures as currency. So it's one of those things where it's not an unreasonable idea. It just seems strange now.
Now that we basically money is made up and it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, and people so rarely even use cash these days, which is just wild.
It's like we're basically like just like a couple clicks away from saying like, give me 3 credits for whatever.
Yes.
Like
we're getting close to the sci-fi films of old,
where our economy is just made up. So my initial thought was that you would have to really if fruit was money, the orchards would be heavily guarded. The Dole plantation would go back to its probably it would also be heavily guarded. There would be machine gun turrets. It would be very it would be very dangerous to go near there.
And it was interesting to me because the idea of money that you might eat, like if you get hungry enough, you're just going to eat that apple.
Yeah.
But the idea that apple, it's not going to be around forever. Like eventually that apple is going to rot. So you'd really have a much more fluid economy and people would be sending. You'd be constantly boosting the economy.
Yeah. That's true. I think it would be weird because what you're saying is totally true. I think there would be some weird like some weird things where if you saw like a fat person, it would be weird because they would probably be rich because they will have been not eating any fruits or vegetables
Hmm.
because they've been saving it all.
Yeah. And like you wouldn't have
You'd see a
necessarily
you'd see a thin person, you'd be like, they have no self control at all. Shame on them.
some ripped guy goes running by. Yeah, he's probably late for his bus for his know nothing job. Oh,
Lazy bum.
but yeah. I mean, so certain fruits last longer, and so I had a curious idea of would a fruit that lasts longer be worth more,
I
or
totally I think it totally
does
would.
size
It totally would. Like what's the fruit that lasts the longest?
pumpkins and gourds? They're technically considered berries, but you can put them in uh, a cellar and they will last you like 6 or 8 months before going bad. The only reason why pumpkins rot so much that we see them is because we carve giant holes in them.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I kind of wonder then if banks would be very, very different. Like you'd see a guy with like a wheelbarrow coming out of the coming out of the bank
Hmm.
with like a whole like a like going into the back of like a Brinks truck with like just a wheelbarrow of pumpkins and gourds. They'd probably start working on like shrinking the gourd itself, like to make it as small as possible. Although if it's like anything else, like humans, they'd be like, "Oh, this gourd is like worth 800 pounds. It's worth more than this small tiny gourd."
Yeah, there definitely be some values to it. And like seasonal gourds are they last forever. Those things are like bricks. But you
They
can't
could
really
also be
eat.
used as weapons. Like it would be one of the first like things when you could say, he threw money at the problem and he fixed it. Like a guy's trying to rob him and he throws money at the problem. Not only does he fix it because that's what the guy wanted, but two, if he knocks him out with the money, then it's pretty awesome.
I mean, I think throwing gold bars at people is like the same equivalent. You could do a serious amount of damage, but if you miss them, they're really happy.
Uh, Bill Gates mugged throws gold bar into would be assassin's eye. Isn't there some Parks and Rec thing where he's like, I don't know how much money I have, but I know how many pounds of money I have
Something like
because
that,
all his
yeah.
money's in gold.
Oh, but
Uh,
yeah,
well, I think
that,
we
that
could
whole idea is just kind of strange to me.
we could probably go further in depth on that one, but I think we should probably move on. We can always
All right.
I think we could reimagine it though. I feel like that's a topic that needs to come back and be further examined. There might be a full episode there. We briefly talked about this on our chat because we are just like just a, constant stream of just random thoughts that we just share back and forth. We're doing the podcast whether we're getting recorded or not.
Exactly.
Um, but what would your strategy be if you had to trade places with one person for a day? Like, and you could choose any person. Like, what's your strategy? Are you like going for a rich person to give yourself money? Are you like going like a prankster route? Are you trying to change the world? Or you just want to see what it'd be like in somebody else's random person's shoes? Get more empathy. I don't know. What's your strategy on that?
Yeah, so there's definitely three or four schools of thought, but I feel like the where most people's mind goes to is what can I get out of it versus what can the world get out of it?
I totally agree.
And so going through like to a rich person and then it's like writing a bunch of checks to yourself, and then when you get back to your own body, cashing them before they stop payment, um, is not a bad idea. And honestly, you can also do blackmail and a few other things too. It's not hard to get a famous person's body in this scenario. Take some like really compromising photos and email them to yourself,
Oh yeah, I
and
didn't
then
even think of
later
that.
be like, oh yeah, you're gonna need to start paying money on the regular, or if these are going to the press.
Yeah, but the thing is if you were that person, you could just transfer money to yourself. Like you could just skip the whole compromising photo part.
That's true, but that only lets
You're
you
just
do money right now.
yeah,
What if
but
you have
without
money?
without going to prison ever.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
totally
but
legal. See,
I'm gonna.
I
Hold
think
on.
I think what I would do, like I thought about this and it's like could it change the world? Could I be more rich? I mean, I would probably take some money. I mean, I'd be lying if I said if I was Bill Gates for a couple days or a day if I wouldn't give myself, $5-10 million.
Hmm.
Whatever. That he doesn't even notice that pocket change.
Hmm.
Anyways, um, but I was thinking like if you just wanted to have fun, what you would do is just go on. You'd be like, I'm Bill Gates or whoever, and I go on. I'm just like, I have an announcement to make because you know that camera people are showing up, and then
Yeah.
you just make either some ridiculous, outlandish statement that now this person has to follow through on, or or you reveal some embarrassing secret that's not like super scandalous, but is just like embarrassing, and now they can never get out of it. Like I have terrible flatulence because I've just been eating cabbage water for 6 weeks, and like I don't know something like that, where that now they're just like they have this thing that's out there about them that's embarrassing that they can never get rid of, or I'm going to run 7 marathons in 7 days, or I'm going to donate all my money to charity. Now we get to watch Bill Gates run 7 marathons in 7 days. Or I'm going to recreate around the world in 80 days by flying a hot air balloon around the world. And I'm going to live stream it for everyone to see on this particular TV channel or whatever.
So apparently, going around the balloon in a hot air balloon, or going around the world in a hot air balloon, actually is incredibly difficult to do it all at once.
Yes, I know.
People,
That's why I want Bill Gates to attempt it.
people have been trying for like forever. Yeah. I mean, so there's also the idea of like, what could you change? So like, if I like took over the president's body, how much damage could I really do, or good could I do to the world? Because like we think of the president of having like unlimited power, but you really don't. Like a lot of things you start would get undone, you know,
The
after
next
a couple
day.
days.
Well,
Yeah.
you could still cause a lot of problems.
Oh, you totally could.
The
As
best
far
thing
as
you
long
could do in this case, like honestly, one of the most like it doesn't seem like that at this particular time in our history, but I think one of the most like like unsettling, like messing with like the world things you could do would just be resign. Be like, I'm stepping down now and then just leave because then it causes like this constitutional like not crisis, but like there's all these things that now have to happen. All this work that was supposed to be done is not done anymore.
and then the next day he wants to come back, or
Yeah.
she wants to come back and can't because that's like the rules.
They're like, "You're crazy. What's wrong with you?" I didn't resign, I swear. It wasn't me. Yes, it was.
Someone inside my body. Okay, weird.
It's a good thing you resigned.
No kidding.
Maniac.
Um, yeah. And then there's always, of course, the whole like, oh, well, I would switch bodies with like my significant other so I could live like a day in her shoes and like see what her life is like.
Although in like both of our, well, less so mine, but in your case, you could actually end up getting Stacy fired because you have no idea how to do her job.
Oh yeah, I have no clue what I'm doing.
Because she
Like you,
does tech stuff.
yeah, you could probably do what Mo does because you guys are both ICU nurses. So
Yeah,
like,
I could like fake it well enough. Like I wouldn't know the same neuro like level of neuro stuff, but I know enough that I could get by.
I don't know what kind of ICU nursing she does versus what you do, but like, I
I do
imagine like the charting system might be
the
different, and you'd be
charting
like,
would be different.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah, she's so she does brain like surgery ICU and I just do general. So like I see a little bit of everything. but I don't see anything super in depth. And she is just neuro, so she is really, really has a ton of like knowledge on different strokes and things like that that I have knowledge of, but not anywhere the same degree. So I could
Gotcha.
do it. It would be a big challenge and a really stressful day. But I think I would definitely be able to make sure that people didn't die from negligence. I think you trying to be like a software engineer and boss while having no skills in software would be kind of a challenge.
Honestly, I think me even just trying to do your guys' jobs, even though I'm still a nurse, I'm not even that kind of nurse.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
so it'd be like, all right, suction the patient. And I'd like grab the vacuum from outside in the hall, and they'd be like, okay, this guy goes nowhere near patients for a while.
We're taking you down for a drug screening. Oh no, he's clean. But
I have a Hoover. I don't know what else do you want to do.
he came back positive for Enthusahol, though. So much Enthusahol. I wish we could make Enthusahol a drug. We need to like make some sort of drink called Enthusahol. It's just pumped with sugar. It's just like 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 the sugar drinks right now have like what, like 45, 50 grams. This would be like
Yeah.
100 plus vitamin B.
So it would essentially just be like you could just do like Four Loco, what it used to be, not what it is now.
Yeah.
Back when it was like essentially a Red Bull with like 20% alcohol, and like it had a bunch of other things in there like taurine and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Like you'd make it like a pre-workout and you just call it Enthusahol.
Yeah.
The stuff that makes you like you tingle, like you get like all tingly.
I can't do pre workout. It feels too much like a panic attack. That is, I start having a panic attack, and I'm why
You know,
am I so jazzed up right now?
it feels weird until you start working out, and then you're like, yeah, I could work out forever.
Yeah.
Um,
Then
but if you aren't working out, then you just feel like you're gonna have a heart attack. All right, I think this is probably a good time to cut to the news, huh?
yeah.
What do you say we do the news? All right, Dafs. Well, this news story comes from some website I've never heard of, so it's probably fake news. It's called
Super credit.
UPI. Well, in fairness to me, it's also like a European, like overseas newspaper because it is about a museum of hangovers. The title, this is from today. Student opens Museum of Hangovers in Croatia. Croatian university student said swapping stories with friends gave him the idea for the country's newest attraction, the Museum of Hangovers. I'm sorry, student from Zagreb. I can't pronounce your name. Basically, you can go there and find like just crazy stories, like from people waking up and then finding out what they've done the next day. Including in the attractions are beer goggles, reflex texting room, an interactive area where people get to share their hangover stories, and of course, alcohol.
So it's like a bar, but you also have like to do some things that make you feel like you're drunk.
And learning.
Nice.
Here's my favorite part. It's a quote from said student. I will attempt to say your name. Reno Dubovic. Dubokovic. Anyways, he says, in the future, we want to make people aware of the bad things to alcohol. What I like about that is he says, in the future. Like some unknown time in the future, we're going to tell people about the evils of drink. But for now, no.
We're just gonna rage.
We're just gonna party on. Yeah. Oh, okay, so that is. So if you are in the Croatia area, post-holiday, you go ahead and you go down there. Yeah, if you're in Zagreb, you go down there. You hit up that hangover museum. And you tell them that Rick and Dafs sent you. And I'm sure they probably won't give you a discount.
No.
Probably not. Okay. Um, this next one. The last two are going to be Christmas related because it is still the season. So, I mean, we might as well. Have you ever heard the song Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer?
Yes, I have. It's a horrible song. Not so much because it's just like bad, but it's kind of one of those earworms.
Well,
And
yeah.
it's also the one of the songs that they play in Hell in the show The Good Place.
Yeah, I actually am not surprised by that. It is kind of like you're right. It's totally an earworm. It gets in your head and it's very annoying. I liken it to like the movie I made a reference to earlier. What is it? Christmas Vacation or whatever with Chevy Chase. It's like
Yeah.
that in a song condensed into 3 or 4 minutes. And I hate that movie. um so that movie, the grandma gets killed, murdered supposedly. Best case scenario, uh well, I don't even know if it's best case. Just in this scenario, there are two outcomes. One, the grandson and the grandfather are in deep denial over her getting being a hit and run accident victim. Um, uh, and so they blamed Santa Claus. Another possible reason is that she's an alcoholic who has stumbled out into the street and been hit by a car. Or, and I don't know if this is worse or not, Santa Claus is a murderer who then flies away because he's too busy doing his job delivering presents. Your
he was
thoughts?
checking he was checking his list twice and not watching the road.
Ooh, wow. He's made his list. He was checking it twice on the way.
Don't text and drive.
Do you think if it was Santa Claus that he left that grandpa whose wife got murdered, like an extra present or like anything, or just no reparations at all?
I mean, it's what he asked for on the Christmas list, so I don't really.
Right. Well, what if next year he asks for his wife back?
Well, I mean, we're gonna have a very strange zombie situation.
um, I feel like, look, if it was Santa Claus, there are some reparations in order, and I feel like if I was his lawyer, I would be requesting a permanent place on the nice list. Just
Regardless of what you do.
yeah, you killed my wife. You are the bringer of toys. You will forevermore bring me whatever toy I want. You're,
Is it how much toys per year do you get though? Is it only one toy for Christmas?
I don't know the Santa Claus's rule. I would guess that like from the song Santa Baby, she's asking for quite a few things. So I feel like you could get more than one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's what I would want if my wife was murdered by Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mariah Carey says all she wants for Christmas is you. But then again, if you're Mariah Carey, you can afford absolutely anything.
except
So
except for love.
so love is really the only thing,
Hmm.
you can't buy.
All I want for Christmas is for her to stop singing that song.
It's a good song.
I hate it.
You hate it? Why?
I viscerally hate it.
Why?
I think it's most actually the song is fine. I just mostly I find Mariah Carey very distasteful as a person.
Really?
Yeah.
But she makes pretty good music.
Yeah.
She's excellent.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not a fan. Just I don't know. Just don't like her. I think I'm also like in all honesty, I also just hate all when people try and make new Christmas songs. Like all the Christmas songs that were written before like 1970, 75, whenever, 80. I guess we can make 1980 the cutoff. That's the end. There are no more. You cannot write any new songs. They've already been written.
What do they call that when they close the Hall of Fame thing, or when they like seal off like
Yeah.
the original or something.
Yeah, they need to seal off the Christmas songs. If you are trying to write a new Christmas song, you like the record companies are legal should be legally obligated to not publish it. um
I did listen to a playlist that was Christmas covers, and I thought it would be good, and it was not good at all.
of course it wasn't good.
It was like all these like pop bands and punk bands, like with My Chemical Romance and Weezer and like a few other ones, and they were just butchering these songs because like you can't make those into like pop punk parodies. You just can't, man. There's
No.
just no.
The closest I think I've heard, and this is might be sacrilegious given just what I just said, was actually Bad Religion did a Christmas album, and it is quite good. But it's
Yeah.
all Christmas classics. It's like the hymns.
Oh,
Um,
see, that could be good.
so check that out.
Yeah,
Um,
my tattoo artist really likes Bad Religion. He actually has a signed guitar from them because he tattooed one of them. Got to hang out for a while.
Excellent harmonies, which is what
Yeah.
you need for a good Christmas album. Any more thoughts on Grandma got run over by a reindeer?
Um, I mean, honestly, it's an APS report at the very least. There, clearly, someone was not watching their loved one. Negligence,
Someone was
potential
watching Nana.
potential homicide. I mean, life alert. They have their next commercial right there.
Well, I say, the first thing is like, he's good 1 year. He asks for a gun. Next year, waiting on the chimney. If you're convinced that Santa did it, you are hunting Santa for the rest of his life.
First year, I want a gun. Second year, I want a reason. Give me a reason.
I want your head. And this transitions into our last question quite nicely, I think. Is Santa Claus a superhero, or I guess does he have superpowers? I guess you'd say superhero because he is potentially doing good, giving toys out to people. However, he is also breaking lots of laws every year.
Yeah, he's breaking and entering. He's trespassing. He's also inflicting his sense of morality onto all the children of the world. What if my culture is different than your culture? What if what I'm doing is totally acceptable in this culture?
Murder is good if you grew up in Spartan culture.
I mean, yeah, like I don't know. There's just different ideas. Like the idea of borrowing versus stealing versus lending. Like there's a lot of cultural aspects to that. You can't just say it's cut and dry.
Well, this is like really random, but I think that's how Magellan died because he ended up on some island where they didn't have any concept of like individual ownership. And so when they showed up, the locals there just started taking stuff off their ship and they thought they were stealing it. And so they ended up like having a battle with these people because the people were like, "Cool, you're part of our tribe now. Like, we're going to take all this stuff so we can all use it." And they were like, "Hey, this is our food and stuff. Get out of there." And then Magellan got killed.
They're like, "Yo, check it out. That white guy brought me a ship. All right. Hey, try and take it back. Let's kill him."
Yeah, right. What a liar. Well, and then people say he's the first person to go around the world, but he was just the captain, and they just kept his dead body on board until they made it around. Speaking of going around the world, that's what Santa Claus supposedly does 1 night a year.
Yeah.
Do you see how smoothly I transitioned back there?
I mean, it's doable, but that's a lot of cocaine, man.
I think he is. I think he is a. You know how every supervillain is the hero of their own story.
Yeah.
I think that's Santa Claus. He is the Magneto of the story, where he's like, "I am like the Lord thy God. I decide what's good and bad. I go around and I'm giving toys to people, but I'm also giving coal to other people. I've enslaved a race of like elves to do my bidding, and I've like kept my wife up in the middle of nowhere.
Isolated away from her family.
Yeah, yeah. What? Yeah, her poor family hasn't seen her for hundreds of years.
The more we talk, the worse this guy sounds.
Yeah, it's not like what if if you were like if he was respectable, if he knew what he was doing was right, he wouldn't be hiding in the North Pole. At the very least, he'd be in Canada if he really was like a cold weather kind of guy.
Or Norway or Finland. I mean, come on.
Any of the Scandinavian areas, really.
We watched a show last night, and it's a really interesting show. It's called Maniac. It's on Netflix. But in one of the episodes, he plays this guy who is his mother was Danish, Finnish, and Swedish, and his father was Icelandic, um, Icelandic, like from Greenland and something else. Essentially, it's like every single like Scandinavian slash Northern European slash whatever one together.
Hmm.
And he goes, which is why I have this most incredible accent. It's like essentially him just having a terrible accent, and then in the show gives an excuse for why his accent's so bad. But it like constantly is
Okay,
changing.
we weren't podcasting at this time as much, and so we didn't get to do a news story about it. But did you see where the president was like legitimately just trying to buy Greenland?
Yes.
He was like, I want to buy Greenland, and they were like, it's not for sale, and he's like, fine, then I'm not coming to your countries to visit anymore. And they were like, I guess that okay, we're sorry that you're not coming anymore, but Greenland still isn't for sale.
They're like, man, two birds, one stone.
Right?
We got to tell him no, and then he's not coming over anymore.
I would have been like, weirdly, if he'd bought Greenland, I would have been like, well, at least we got something out of it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it would be kind of nice to have Greenland, but you know exactly what would happen. We would make Greenland a state.
Yep.
And Puerto Rico would be like, what do we got to do, man?
It would be called like Trump Island or something like that. My thought is Santa, superpowers, clearly, but probably supervillain.
Yeah, I mean, he's like lawful neutral, I think, is how I would put
How
it.
is he lawful? He is definitely not lawful.
No, what's the term? True neutral, then? It's where, like, you obey rules when you think you should, but you don't let them really hinder you.
Yeah.
But you're not chaotic neutral, where you're just, like, all over the place. You're more, like, very even-tempered, like, every situation, okay, well, we'll weigh the pros and cons.
I think that might be the best way to describe me as a person.
For me, it's a pineapple Fanta.
Yeah, I know.
Because that is exactly what describes me.
European, like kind of a little bit different than like the normal flavor, but still not crazy. But not
No.
But definitely kind of towards the niche, but not.
Yeah. Delicious, sweet,
Offbeat.
you drink way too much of it, you'll get sick.
Too much of it, you'll get sick. Oh man. Well, I think now that we're just starting to ramble incoherently, I think it's probably the perfect time to end the show.
That sounds good to me.
I think this was an excellent episode and a good way to end the year and an exciting kind of like vision of things to come. Where people can hear us talking as we would normally over the phone while Dafs makes a sandwich or whatever you were doing earlier.
Oh, I made myself a gin and ginger ale.
Ah.
Because you're never drinking alone, when you have cats.
Ah. Last aside story, and then we will end. But one of the traditions that Molly and I have is like, and we haven't been able to do it for quite some time for obvious reasons, is we'll get a bottle of champagne and just drink it all out of the bottle
Yes,
while toasting each other and eating
I
like pizza.
yeah,
So we did that recently, and it was delightful.
I bet there
Um,
was a there was a video about opening a bottle of champagne. It asked 100 people to do it, and most people knew roughly how to do it. But there were three or four who took like the wine cork opener and were starting to like screw it on. And they're like, "What? What? Okay, apparently I'm being asked to stop because what I'm doing is incredibly dangerous." And it was like, wait, so a projectile that launches out with force, and you're putting a giant sharpened corkscrew on it.
to release the pressure, of course. I did think the first time it's ever happened to me that it like fizzed up. Like I
Oh,
popped the cork and it went. So then I just gave me an excuse to just swig it out of the bottle, like just like a man. Just act, and actually, unfortunately for me, it was like super carbonated at that very point. So it was like just like drinking air.
there's whole videos of people failing at opening champagne, and it's not just the whole like, oh, I tried to saber it open and it exploded because I'm an idiot kind of thing. It's like people like looking down at the bottle, they pop it and it hits them right in the
Oh my
nose.
gosh. The key is you have to open it fast. You have to just like hold it away from you and just pop it off.
Yeah. People will do that, they hold it away and pop it, but they end up pointing it directly at the cameraman.
Oh no.
And it's like, oh, it's just hilarious.
Can you imagine that workers comp? Like what happened? Well, I was at the staff Christmas party during lunch and I got hit in the eye with a champagne cork. I'm blind. Oh man. Okay, well, it's probably time to end, but that was a fun episode. Um,
I,
so for both of us here, I'm Rick,
I'm Dafs.
and have a good one. Well done, guys.